Saint Lazarus, the holy and righteous, the fourth day resurrected and friend of God Jesus Christ. Lazarus of Bethany, the figure of the New Testament whose life is restored by Jesus 4 days after his death, as told in the Gospel of John. The resurrection is considered one of the miracles of Jesus, and Eastern Christian Orthodoxy. Lazarus is venerated as righteous Lazarus, the fourth day dead. In the context of the seven signs of the Gospel of John, the raising of Lazarus at Bethany, today is the town of El Aizariah in the West Bank, which translates to the place of Lazarus, is the climactic narrative exemplifying the power of Jesus. This tomb is controlled by the Palestinians, and we know that Lazarus comes from the Greek word meaning the person that was lying down on the earth. His actual name was Simon, and he was the brother of Martha and Mary Magdalene. And I asked a doctor friend of mine, why the fourth day? What happens? She said, well, what happens on the fourth day is that the first thing that basically splits in the body is the abdomen area, because all the intestinal gases and chemicals in there cause a bloating. And that's the first thing that sort of bursts open, and all the filth and everything comes out, and it really stinks. That's why the sisters, Mary and Martha and Mary Magdalene, were saying, but our Lord, he's now putrid. So the narrative says, biblical narrative of the raising of Lazarus, found in chapter 11 of the Gospel of John. A certain Lazarus who lives in the town of Bethany near Jerusalem is introduced as a follower of Jesus. We know that they were very affluent, and many a time they had their meetings at the house of Lazarus, Mary and Maria in Bethany. He's identified as a brother of the sisters Mary and Martha. The sisters send word to Jesus that Lazarus, he whom thou lovest, is ill. And Jesus tells his followers the sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so God's Son may be glorified through it. Instead of immediately traveling to Bethany, according to the narrator, Jesus intentionally remains there for 2 more days before beginning the journey back. His disciples are afraid of returning to Judea, but Jesus says, our friend Lazarus is asleep, but I'm going to awake him. And when the apostles misunderstood, he clarifies, Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe, because he knew he was going to resurrect Lazarus. Now, in the presence of the crowd of Jewish mourners, Jesus comes to the tomb. Jesus asks for the stone of the tomb to be removed. Martha interjects that there will be a smell, and Jesus responds, did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? And over the objections of Martha, Jesus then has them roll away the stone. And from the entrance of the tomb and says a prayer, they take the stone away. Then Jesus looks up and says, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. He then calls Lazarus to come out. Lazarus, come forth, he said. And Lazarus does so, still wrapped in his grave cloths. Jesus then calls for someone to remove the grave cloths to let him go. And the narrative ends with the statement that many of the witnesses to this event believed in him. Others are said to report the event in the religious authorities in Jerusalem. Now, in the Gospel of John mentions Lazarus again, chapter 12. 6 days before the Passover on which Jesus is crucified, Jesus returns to Bethany, and Lazarus attends a supper that Martha, his sister, serves. Jesus and Lazarus together attract the attention of many, and the narrator says that the chief priests consider having Lazarus put to death because so many people are believing in Jesus on account of this miracle of the resurrection. Now, what happened is that because of the fact that he was being chased, he left and went to Cyprus. He then became the bishop of Kition in Cyprus, according to the Eastern Orthodox Church tradition. Sometime after the resurrection of Christ, Lazarus was forced to flee Judea. Because of rumored plots on his life, he came to Cyprus, and there he was appointed by Barnabas and Paul, the apostle, as the first bishop of Kition, which is present-day Larnaca. He lived there for 30 more years, and on his death he was buried there for the second and last time. And further establishing the apostolic nature of Lazarus' appointment was the story of the bishop's omophorion was presented to Lazarus by the Virgin Mary, the Mother of Christ, who had woven it herself. Such apostolic connections were central to the claims to autocephaly made by the Bishop of Kition, subject to the Patriarch of Jerusalem, during the period 325 to 431 AD. The Church of Kition was declared self-governing in 431 AD at the Third Ecumenical Council. And according to tradition, Lazarus never smiled during the 30 years after his resurrection, worried by the sight of unredeemed souls he had seen during his 4-day stay in hell. The only exception happened when, seeing someone stealing a pot, he smiled, said, "The clay steals the clay." In 890, a tomb was found in Larnaca bearing the inscription "Lazarus, the friend of Christ." Emperor Leo VI of Byzantium had Lazarus' remains transferred to Constantinople in the year 898. The transfer was apostrophized by Aretas, Bishop of Caesarea, and is commemorated by the Eastern Orthodox Church every year, October 17. In recompense to Larnaca, Emperor Leo had the Church of St. Lazarus, which still stands today, from the year 898, erected over Lazarus' tomb. The marble sarcophagus can be seen inside the church under the Holy of Holies. In the 16th century, a Russian monk from the monastery of Psov visited Lazarus' tomb in Larnaca and took with him a small piece of the relics. Perhaps that piece led to the erection of the St. Lazarus Chapel in Pskov Monastery, where it is kept today. In June 2012, the Church of Cyprus gave a part of the holy relics of St. Lazarus to the delegation of the Russian Orthodox Church led by Patriarch Kirill of Moscow. After a 4-day visit to Cyprus, the relics were brought to Moscow and were given to Archbishop Arseny of Istra, who took them to the Zakatievsky Monastery, a convent, where they were put up for veneration. And this is from Wikipedia. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.